I've known Dr. Jerry a long time, really, since we were practitioners in San Diego. I was in North County, San Diego, and you were in closer to San Diego. And we were part of something called the League of Practitioners. And lots of churches all around Southern California and San Diego would gather, and we'd have meetings that were wonderful. And I always wanted to know Jerry better. He was a corporate executive then, and the staff minister. He became a staff minister for Marilyn Hall Day. Do you remember? Marilyn was a founding member of Anton. Well, I will never forget, we didn't really get to know each other that well, but we wanted to. And when my beloved teacher, Jane Claypool, made her transition, Jerry, Dr. Jerry, and his partner, Jerry, came to Jane's service in Carlsbad. I just will never forget that. Looking out and seeing you there was so supportive and beautiful. And you've been in big doings in your life. I know you were staff minister, you took over Marilyn's church, you made it your church. It wasn't for you, that pulpit thing, running everything. Instead, you had to run all of the teenagers in San Diego, all the homeless population, and you've been up to beautiful things. So Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer serves as our beloved president of Affiliated New Thought Network. He also serves as a staff minister at the Ohm Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. He is I think this bio wants me to explain what Anton is, but I think you all know. It's a membership organization of CSL, Unity, UFBL, Divine Science, and independent centers, churches, and individuals. He also works as the Director of Relationship Development for Urban Street Angels, an organization that provides transitional housing and other services to more than 220 homeless youth in San Diego County. And if you heard Jerry the other day, which many of you did and some of you didn't, it started as an organization that gave clean socks and bottles of water to homeless teenagers on the streets of San Diego. And kids from all over the United States get on a bus and head to San Diego because they think it's the land of milk and honey and their dreams will come true and they end up homeless, but not anymore. So please help me welcome Dr. Jerry Troyer.
Good morning, dear ones. Or good afternoon or good evening if you're in another time zone or are watching later. It is a great pleasure to be with you. My thanks to Reverend Dale and Dr. Tim for the opportunity to share some ideas with you this morning. My topic for today is In Search of a Good Night's Sleep, or Why is This Bugging Me? And as so often happens, as I am sharing ideas and talking with you, I am always talking with and to myself. So thank you for being in the room as I am talking with myself. So A Course in Miracles reminds us that I could see peace instead of this. So why don't we? If life is lived from the inside out, and it is, what is it that keeps us out of peace, and how could we change that? Many of us work really hard to make ourselves feel better. We buy new stuff. You don't have to raise your hand, but I bet you have the Amazon app on your phone. We go on wonderful vacations to Hawaii or Jamaica or the Caribbean or Europe or wherever. But I don't like the word challenge, but the thing is that wherever we go, there we are. And so even if I'm going someplace else, if I'm buying something to make myself feel better, at some point I have to come back to the remembrance of who I am and why I am out of peace. So in the last little while, and it is my honor to share this topic with you because y'all are the first. I've been thinking about this and I'm working on it. There's a workshop just about ready to be born on this very topic, but what keeps us out of peace and how could we change that? So starting with my story. It's my story and it's sticking to me. Because we all, I know, right? We all carry our story about what happened this morning or last year or 50 years ago or 100 years ago. And all of the assumptions and the feelings surrounding what happened. And I'm reminded of high school. It was a day, I know it, that was a day or two ago. And meet somebody, and this may have been your experience as well. Meet somebody really nice, really cute, and whatever your somebody looks like, that's okay. And this is great, and you exchanged phone numbers, although for me, back in the day, it was the landline on the wall at home, not the cell phone, but that's okay. But you exchanged numbers, and they're gonna call, and we're gonna go have lunch. But they didn't call. And they didn't call. And they didn't call. What does this mean? Well, if you're like I was, they didn't like me, I'm ugly, I'm unlovable, I will never find anybody. And you know, we create this whole story surrounding what happened and why they did what they did or didn't do what they didn't do. But the truth is, we never know. We never know. Maybe they lost our number. Maybe they had a death in the family. Maybe the dog died. You just get to just a variety of things. But how often do we make assumptions and create this whole story, most often about how we're not enough? And Jesse, I loved that song from earlier this morning. How often do we carry that belief that somehow we're not enough? And that reflects, and again, because life is lived from the inside out, that becomes our experience. I'm not enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not worthy. The third agreement from the amazing book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, is don't make assumptions. Don't judge by appearances. Don't look at a situation and assume how it's going to turn out. The Anton board had the opportunity to gather at a retreat center outside of Louisville, Kentucky, a couple of months ago. We had an amazing week there. It was absolutely wonderful. So I was there in Louisville and then was flying on to Tampa to guest speak at a Unity Church in Tampa. So flew on to Tampa, had a great visit with them. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm at the Tampa airport. I'm going to go home finally. I've been on the road for 9 days, and I got to go home and wash my drawers, right? If nothing else. And there's a weather front or situation sitting over a good portion of the United States, and so the planes had to detour around this massive weather thing to get where they were going. So I was flying Tampa, San Francisco, San Diego. So the flight is delayed. And the flight to San Francisco is delayed. And the flight is delayed. Okay, well, so I'll get to San Francisco at some point, but I'll probably miss my connection. Well, I'll get a hotel room, but I got to be at work the next morning. Well, I'll get a hotel room by the airport in San Francisco. Or I'll sleep in the airport. Never had to do that before, but that's okay. Don't make assumptions. Don't judge by appearances. How often do we see a situation and not remind ourselves that there's more to it than what we can see? So to make a long story even longer, what happened was that the pilots who were going to fly the plane from San Francisco to San Diego were the same pilots flying the plane from Tampa to San Francisco. So they couldn't fly my plane, they couldn't get my plane from San Francisco to San Diego without them, and consequently, without me. So I fell into bed just about 2 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. But the good news is I and my luggage made it home. I could see peace instead of this. I know, right? Thank you. It was very good news. So what do we believe about ourselves and about life and about our worth and our value and all the rest of that? And at what point do we want to say, well, that might have been true back then, but it's not true now. What keeps me out of peace very often are my rules. Now, please know there is no judgment here. If you arrived in this room after 9:30 this morning, that's just fine, and there's no judgment here. But I need to be on time. And I need to be 15 or 20 minutes early most times. Big deal, big rule. So, what I know is the universe has a sense of humor. My late husband was on time-ish. So get to the room 9:30, 9:35, you got that 5-minute play, and that's okay, and we made it, and I'm like, come on, in a minute, dear, but we were almost never late. Life has a sense of humor because my new beloved has no such rule. So his ish is really big. So, and if Oliver were in this room, I would be saying the same thing, and he knows it. So I'll be at your house at 9:30. Well, it's 10 minutes to 10, and he's not there yet. And I have to admit that the first few times that this happened, all of that old stuff, using a purely spiritual term, came up for me. So what does this mean? He doesn't love me, he doesn't respect me, blah, blah, blah. He's dead along the side of the road, all of those things. What does it really mean? He got there at 10 minutes to 10. Where does this come from? Comes from my father, who taught us that you must be on time, and actually you must be 15 or 20 minutes early and go and sit in the parking lot and listen to the radio in the car back in the day and wait, because you must be early, you must not be late, because it's disrespectful, immature, all of those other things. It's a great rule to have, and I follow that, but how often do we beat ourselves up and beat other people up because they're not following our rules? If you would just follow my rules, your life would be so much easier, and oh, by the way, so would mine. But rules about until death do us part. And if the relationship changed and we're not together anymore, what does that mean? Our rules related to what they should do, what they shouldn't do, what I should and shouldn't do, and what happens if I break my own rule. And how long do I beat myself up over that? Thomas Merton is quoted as saying, "The beginning of love is to let those we love be perfectly themselves and not to twist them to fit our image. Otherwise, we love only the reflection of ourselves that we see in them. Interesting. What keeps me out of peace is my shadow. Ooh. In 1927, I'm always happy when I read about something that was before my time, and this was definitely before my time. 1927, Irving Berlin published a song with Al Jolson, Billy Rose, and Dave Dreyer, and the title of the song was Me and My Shadow. You remember, and I won't sing it because I love you too much, but strolling down the avenue, right, blah, blah, blah. So our shadow, and you've probably heard that term, a lot of work on the shadow by Carl Jung, by Debbie Ford, Tara Brach, some other really amazing authors and wisdom keepers. And in the book Radical Acceptance, and thanks to Reverend Dr. Martha for her wisdom in suggesting this, by the book by Tara Brach, she writes, our own personal shadow is made up of those parts of our being that we experience as unacceptable. Our family and culture let us know early on which qualities of human nature are valued and which are frowned upon. Because we want to be accepted and loved, we try to fashion and present a self that will attract others and secure our belonging. But we ultimately express our natural aggression or neediness in the most inconvenient ways. I bet that's been your experience, and it certainly has been mine. Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements talks about our domestication, and we're taught what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad and all the rest of that. Debbie Ford's book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, she writes, the saintly and the cynical, the divine and the diabolical, the courageous and the cowardly, all these aspects lie dormant in us and will act out if they are not recognized and integrated into our psyches. So what if we allowed ourselves to look at all those parts that we don't want to look at and embrace them? What if we looked that, because you might be familiar with the writing by the Sufi mystic poet Rumi about the guest house and how I am charming and sparkling and patient and compassionate and understanding, and hateful and surly and cranky and bitchy and everything else. And the good news is, so are you. Now, we might keep it under wraps, but there's that. I am a big Disney fan, and I live in San Diego, so about an hour and a half away from Disneyland. Winnie the Pooh, Pooh Bear, is my spirit animal, and he's always smiling. And the plush, we used to call them stuffed animals, now we call them plush. But all of my plush Pooh Bears are smiling. And my Mickey Mouses and my Stitches and all those Disney characters are happy and wonderful and smiling, because of course Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, right? Well, we had the opportunity to take a group of youth from Urban Street Angels to Disneyland. We got a grant for this. They called it client engagement. But so a 15-passenger van load of youth and staff members and me went to Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. And we had an amazing time, and so many of the youth so touched my heart because they said, I never dreamed I would be able to go to Disneyland. It was just the greatest thing. So we're there and we're having a wonderful time, and we're on Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one of the rides there. And if you've ever been to Disney, you know you're there, and sometimes it stops for just a minute because they got to clear the boats up ahead of you. So we stopped. And we stopped. And we stopped. And then the lights came on. And you know, if you've been to Disney World or Disneyland, you know if they turn on the lights, there's something going on. And the magic vanished, and we had to get pushed back and then climb out of the boat and walk through the internal workings of Disneyland, which was kind of cool. But that was an hour and a half out of my life that I'll never get back, and I didn't get to ride some of those rides. So I went from happy and joyful and Pooh Bear and being wonderful to I just always laugh when I see him. So I want you to meet Broody. So this is Broody. I have one of him at home in my house, sitting next to the charming and sparkling Pooh Bears. Because the truth is, it's the greatest, whether the happiest day and the greatest place and everything is wonderful. And oh, by the way, there's also that. When somebody says something, when somebody does something. Because what keeps me out of peace is me and your shadow. The good news is in 2026, we get to find out everything about what everybody thinks and what everybody says. And there are people who are on Instagram and Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning posting stuff, using a purely spiritual term. But there's a great invention that I recently discovered. Well, two of them actually. One is I love Facebook because I get great, amazing wisdom from Facebook, but there is also the God-given gift of being able to scroll. Just keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. This is silly. This doesn't resonate for me. I'm not reading that. I'm not ingesting that. Just keep scrolling. And change the channel. If you have cable television and the news is on, change the channel. Or even, and I recently discovered this too, we can just turn it off. But why is this? But sometimes we don't, and so we get caught up in what somebody said or did, and why is this bugging me? Debbie Ford refers to it as shadow projection. I might have been a little petty. I might have been a little greedy. I might have been a little immature, a little impatient, a little hateful. But that's not really who I am or what I'm like most of the time. But then we see somebody who is acting that way. And our shadow says, well, wait just a minute. They can do that. Why can't I? Things like, because I'm never this way, except when I am. Greedy, liar, racist. Ever been racist? A narcissist, a predator, a manipulator, pompous, incompetent, selfish, inappropriate, and we could be here for the rest of the day. But the point is, when we see someone acting that way that we don't want to own within ourselves, we get so upset. And that's what keeps us out of peace. That's what keeps us from having a good night's sleep, is I can't believe he or she did that or said that, because politicians aren't supposed to do that. Ministers shouldn't do that. My dear ones shouldn't do that. And if it's our shadow, we just react and we miss out on that peace. So the opportunity for us is to be aware of what we're aware of, to draw on that wisdom and decide, is that, if I'm reacting to this, why? And when I see that, when I hear that, allow ourselves to remind ourselves, I am that. I am that. I didn't post it on social media, but there have been times when I was that, and it takes the fire out. So in conclusion, the opportunity is to offer ourselves grace as we begin to look at our rules and decide what's true for us and what's not. Be more aware of our assumptions. Be consciously aware when our shadow shows up and recognize, yeah, I am that. Allow ourselves to come from curiosity and just observe what's going on here. Be willing to ask, seek, and knock. And not coincidentally, today is the National Day of Prayer. Do we remember Jesus in Matthew in the Sermon on the Mount encourages us to ask, seek, and knock? Do we do that? Do we call on that inner wisdom? Why is this bothering me? And what can I change about my view? And then halt. In the recovery community, and I love this acronym or whatever you kind of want to call it. HALT. If you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, wait to respond to that text or that email. Wait to respond to that post on Facebook. For the love of God, don't go to Costco. Don't go on your Amazon app. Just do it. Don't hit send, right. Just take that, breathe, and take that moment and draw on that wisdom, because I could have peace instead of this. Namaste.